Alright, good morning all. Right, so this is the final surah, right? It does bring my heart a little bit of sadness because I will honestly miss this daily teaching, right? I honestly will miss it, right? Um, but this is my final daily teacher, and I don't know if I will be back on a weekly basis or so to share more knowledge or information or anything else that I come across that I think might be beneficial to anybody who's looking at these videos or has been following my videos, right? And it have many things that I would like to say in this video, right? But I will let it be and just will in part read or recite what the book says, as well as wrap up conversations that we've been having, hurtful conversations that we've been having for the past however long, right? So this chapter is Surah an-Nas, and people or mankind. That's the title of this, right? People or mankind, right? So it's about fighting for people, right? Being on the side of fighting for people, right? So we want to talk about, well, we've been wrapping up the conversation of the remembrance of I am that I am, right? Meaning the remembrance of what? Of the Christ figure, and we are wrapping up that conversation one, right? Because, right, the remembrance of the Christ is the remembrance of one person, right, on earth, dying tragically, right, a tragic death, a painful death, right? However, the remembrance of God, right, or the remembrance of Allah, remembrance of God, or the one true God, right? We are talking about moving away from the remembrance of I am that I am, because it is an egoistical concept, right? Remembering is focused on yourself only, or on one only, one deity only, one person only, right? We are remembering and wrapping up the conversation as well, and helping people to heal from many people dying tragically, right? Some of us would have lost parents, siblings, family, friends, relatives, right? Through murders, through crimes, through unimaginable things, right? And we are wrapping up that on an individual level and helping people to heal and move on from that, as well as a collective hurt, right? That we're helping people to wrap up and move on from, which is the hurt of slavery, indentureship, the British colonialism experience, right? Which still has that trace of lingering within us, right? Even though we may try to forget it, it is in our psyche, right? So we are helping people to wrap up that conversation of that, how much ever millions of people would have suffered that tragedy, right, as a result of the human powers that be, that was at the time, and also continue to exist now, but in a different form, right? So I would just like to reinforce, because this is the last day I'm wrapping up this talk, right, and also wrapping up the race conversation, right? Because, like I say, I've been trying to do this for the longest while, since I was in UE actually, right? Trying to wrap up the conversation on race and race relations and all this, right? So let me just put that point out there. This is the last day I'm making this point, right? The powers that be, human powers that be, right, actually owe the Caribbean, right, in the amount of 16.5 billion TT dollars, right? So, and this is a mix between both how much ever the human powers within the Caribbean, leaders themselves, as well as external powers, because what we are teaching people to do is, one, take responsibility for their own actions, and also acknowledge that circumstances would have resulted in who you are, or influence who you are, right? So one, right, we are teaching people to be responsible or be accountable for their own leadership and their own to take accountability for their own style of leading people, and how their own wastage of resources and so on contribute to underdevelopment within their own region, right? As well as looking at history and seeing, hey, this is what happened, and this is what went wrong, and this is what we are accountable for, and this is what we have to pay, right, to certain people, or this is what we owe to certain people who we contributed, or our ancestors contributed in underdeveloping, right? This is wrapping up the conversation. So let's just say, right, seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, right? Right. The sovereign of mankind, which is about freedom, right? Freeing the evil of the retreating whisperer, right? Whispers, right? Whispers that you hear in your head, right? Seeking refuge from the evils of that, right? Who whispers evils into the breasts or the hearts of mankind, from among both jinn and mankind, right? So we are wrapping up this conversation, and I'm out of this app for some time again, right? So take care, everybody. It was a good conversation, and we will see each other when we see each other.